The moment the young receptionist looked up, glanced at the faded captain's jacket, and calmly said, "I'm sorry, sir. Our luxury suites are reserved for paying VIP guests." Captain Ethan Hayes knew something was terribly wrong. He didn't argue. He didn't reveal his identity. He simply smiled, picked up his old leather duffel bag, and stepped aside while another wealthy couple checked into the presidential suite. Around him, the magnificent Grand Ocean atrium sparkled beneath crystal chandeliers. A pianist filled the air with soft music while elegantly dressed billionaires admired the floating palace they had paid thousands of dollars to experience. No one noticed the quiet man wearing a worn captain's cap. No one realized he wasn't just another crew member. He was the master captain who had spent 15 years building this luxury cruise ship from a dream into reality. And within the next hour, the careers of several managers would come crashing down. Captain Ethan Hayes never believed respect should depend on expensive clothes. Before commanding one of the world's most luxurious cruise ships, he had started as an ordinary deckhand. He had scrubbed rust from railings, worked endless night shifts through violent storms, and slept in tiny crew cabins barely larger than a closet. Those years taught him something he never forgot. People reveal their true character by how they treat someone who appears to have nothing. When Blue Horizon Cruises invited him to design and command their flagship, Ethan accepted under one condition. Every guest, every employee, and every visitor would be treated with equal dignity. That promise was engraved into the company's culture. At least, it was supposed to be. After spending 4 months overseas supervising final upgrades to Ocean Crown, Ethan decided to return quietly one day before the maiden voyage. Only the board chairman knew he was coming. Even the executive team believed he would arrive the following morning. Ethan liked surprising his crew. More importantly, he occasionally traveled like an ordinary guest to see how passengers were truly treated when nobody knew who they were. He wore comfortable clothes instead of his white captain's uniform. His beard had grown during months at sea. His weathered travel jacket looked nothing like the expensive suits surrounding him. Walking through the terminal, he admired the breathtaking ship illuminated against the night sky. Thousands of lights reflected across the calm harbor. Families took photographs. Children pointed excitedly toward the massive vessel. Ethan smiled proudly. Every late night, every impossible deadline, every sacrifice had been worth this moment. He walked toward guest reception. Then everything changed. The receptionist welcomed the next passenger with a bright smile. When Ethan stepped forward, she barely looked up. "Good evening." "Good evening," Ethan replied warmly. "I'd like to check into my suite." She typed his name. Nothing appeared. She tried again. Still nothing. "I'm sorry, sir. I can't locate your reservation." "It should be under Ethan Hayes." Another search. Nothing. Unknown to either of them, Ethan's executive reservation had accidentally been deleted during a software update only hours earlier. "I'm sure it's just a mistake," Ethan said calmly. The receptionist forced a polite smile. "Our luxury suites are completely full. I'm certain we can verify it." Before she could answer, guest services supervisor Melissa walked over. "Is there a problem? This gentleman claims he has a royal suite reservation." Melissa slowly looked Ethan up and down, old boots, simple clothes, a faded captain's cap. Then she smiled. "I'm sorry, sir, but our royal suites are reserved for VIP guests." "I understand. If your crew accommodations are located on deck 2. "I'm not staying in crew quarters tonight." Melissa folded her arms. "Then I'm afraid you'll have to leave the reception area." Nearby passengers began watching. One businessman whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "Some people really don't know their place." His wife laughed softly. Several others smiled. Ethan heard every word. Yet his expression never changed. A few moments later, Hotel Operations Director Richard Collins arrived. Richard believed appearances meant everything. Luxury, in his mind, belonged only to people who looked wealthy. Melissa quickly explained the situation. Richard stepped closer. So you're insisting you have a royal suite? I'm simply asking you to verify my reservation. Do you have identification? My passport is inside my luggage. Richard shook his head. Without identification, I cannot help you. I understand. Richard pointed toward the exit. Then I'll have security escort you to the crew entrance. Two security officers approached. Unlike everyone else, they remained respectful. One quietly said, "Sir, would you mind coming with us?" Ethan smiled. "You're simply doing your job." The young officer nodded thankfully. Before leaving, Ethan asked one final question. "Would someone please call the executive chairman?" Richard laughed. "The chairman doesn't handle guest complaints. This one is different." "I'm afraid this conversation is over." Just then, 3 black executive vehicles stopped outside the terminal. The board chairman, the chief executive officer, the vice president of maritime operations, several board members, and dozens of senior executives entered together. Richard immediately straightened his tie. Perfect timing. He hurried forward. "Good evening, everyone." The chairman smiled. "Excellent. Has Captain Ethan Hayes arrived?" Richard frowned. "Captain Hayes?" "Yes. Our founder. Our master captain. He was supposed to arrive about 30 minutes ago." Richard slowly turned around. Ethan was still standing quietly beside the reception desk, still holding his duffel bag, still wearing the same faded captain's cap. The chairman's face immediately brightened. "Ethan?" He walked straight past Richard, straight past Melissa, straight past every executive, then embraced Ethan with genuine warmth. "Welcome home, Captain." The entire atrium fell silent. Passengers stopped talking. Employees froze. Even the pianist stopped playing. The chairman looked around. Why hasn't Captain Hayes checked into his royal suite? Nobody answered. Finally, the receptionist whispered, I couldn't find his reservation." Melissa swallowed. "We believed he was unauthorized." Richard tried speaking. "We thought—" The chairman interrupted. "You thought the founder of Blue Horizon Cruises didn't belong aboard his own ship?" Richard's face turned pale. The CEO immediately requested security footage. Within minutes, the entire interaction played across the conference room monitors. Every dismissive glance, every insulting remark, every opportunity to solve the problem professionally. Nobody in the room spoke. Finally, the chairman turned toward Ethan. "What would you like us to do?" Ethan remained silent for several moments. Then he looked at Richard. "When I designed Ocean Crown, I asked one thing." Richard lowered his eyes. "Treat every person with respect before you know who they are." Ethan nodded. "You didn't fail because you denied me a suite. You failed because you judged a human being before offering help." The room remained perfectly quiet. Ethan continued. "If I had been an ordinary passenger, tonight would have become the worst memory of their vacation." Richard's shoulders dropped. "I understand." "No," Ethan replied gently. "I don't think you do." He looked toward every manager. Luxury isn't crystal chandeliers. It isn't expensive wine. It isn't marble floors. Luxury begins the moment someone feels welcome. If we lose that, we've already sunk this ship. Several employees wiped tears from their eyes. Even some executives looked emotional. The chairman stood, effective immediately. Richard Collins is relieved of his duties as hotel operations director. Richard quietly removed his name badge. "I deserve that." Melissa Parker is also removed from her supervisory position pending review. She silently nodded. Then the chairman turned toward the young receptionist. She was crying. "I'm so sorry, Captain. I was afraid of making a mistake." Ethan smiled kindly. "You did make one." She looked down. "But mistakes can teach us." Turning to the chairman, Ethan said, "She stays." Everyone looked surprised. "She receives additional training. If she learns to see people instead of appearances, she'll become one of our best employees." The chairman smiled. "Done." Then Ethan faced the 2 security officers. "You treated me with dignity, even when you believed I was just another traveler. Both men stood speechless. I'd like them promoted. The atrium erupted into applause. 3 months later, Ocean Crown had become one of the highest-rated luxury cruise ships in the world. One afternoon, Ethan once again boarded wearing ordinary clothes. Nobody recognized him. As he approached reception, he noticed the same young receptionist helping an elderly couple whose luggage had been delayed. Instead of rushing them away, she smiled warmly. "Welcome aboard. You've had a long journey. Please, enjoy complimentary refreshments while we prepare another suite for you." The elderly woman's eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you for treating us so kindly." The receptionist smiled. Everyone deserves to feel welcome here. Standing quietly across the atrium, Ethan smiled. The chairman walked beside him. "Exactly how you imagined it?" Ethan looked around the beautiful ship. Families laughing together, crew members smiling sincerely, passengers feeling at home. Then he quietly answered, "No." The chairman looked surprised. Ethan smiled even wider. "It's even better. Because the greatest luxury aboard Ocean Crown was never the presidential suites. It was the respect every person received before anyone knew their name.